And we're back. We'll see for how long. But hey, everybody, welcome. This is the channel for the audiobook reading of my book, Smokepit Fairytales. Or, you know, the series or whatever. We've had our ups and downs of the production and all that, but hey, nothing good comes easy. All right, well, without further ado, let's get to it.
Smokepit Fairytales by Trip Ainsworth. Chapter 1. The Purple Church. How damn long is this patrol going to be? I thought as the sand crunched under my boot. Fuck Nowzad, fuck Sangin, and fuck Afghanistan. The sun melted my platoon as we walked along the wadi. My legs ached from carrying about 100 pounds of ammunition over the last week. I didn't even bother looking at the ground anymore. If I step on an IED, at least I'll be done carrying this bullshit. The further away from the fob we walked, the more the sand transitioned to a fine powder. Moon dust is what we called it. A cloud of dirt trailed the patrol, bathing us in a golden light as the day soon gave way to twilight and the sun set over the mountains. The sight was beautiful, but the call to prayer made things eerily quiet. We circled Sangin's outskirts. The moon rose. The mud huts seemed to grow into towers of steel. The Afghans watched us from a distance. Their skin was rotten. They treated us in the same regard as they would a wild animal in their fields. A hint of fear, but mostly indifference. Sergeant Fowler stopped the patrol, and we bedded down for the night. I dropped my pack and pulled out my poncho. It was still too hot for a sleeping bag. I left my boots on and curled up with my rifle. I tried to think of Satin and her beautiful eyes. It would help me sleep. I dreamed of the beach and the day we met. As I dozed off into the realm between sleep and awake, I felt something under my poncho with me. A demon was on top of me. His beard was long and dark, covering a feral gaze, his skin tighter than wet leather, and his eyes pierced my soul. The monster released an evil screech from his dragon-like mouth. I screamed myself awake, wearing only a thin layer of sweat in my tattoos. I scanned the room. I was in my girlfriend's bed in Oceanside. "Baby, are you all right?" Kennedy grogged, turning to face me in bed. "Yeah," I panted. "I just had a nightmare." I put my head back on the pillow. "Back in Afghanistan?" she asked. Something like that. I waited for Kennedy to fall back asleep. When I was sure she was off in her Persian dreamland, I put on my patch jacket and jeans and slipped outside. I lit a Lucky and texted Doc to come get me for breakfast. Doc's blue 1972 Mustang pulled around the corner of Wisconsin Avenue a few minutes after the sun broke the mountain's crest. I fell into the passenger seat. "Sup, Doc?"
"Not much, man."
The engine roared and we shot down the street. I tried to shake the memory of nightmares, satin, and demons. "What do you think would happen if we were invaded by aliens?" I asked, looking at the trees passing us through the window.
"You mean like that one?"
Doc pointed to a grotesquely overweight Latina in spandex pants, which clung for dear life around her flabs. "No, like green from Mars or something. The truth is out there kind of aliens. That fat bitch right there needs to be eaten by wolves."
"Yeah, how do you let yourself go like that?"
She probably got that way eating extra food from the 76 cats she keeps in her house and laying around reading Twilight instead of doing something productive, like killing herself," I replied.
"You ever pinned a hog like that before?"
"Listen, I'll jump on a grenade for a friend now and again, but that doesn't mean I go trolling the circus."
"Is that why you like the Purple Church so much?"
"Hey, now, Kennedy's fucking hot," I defended my girlfriend. "Just because they have to ask you for tips doesn't mean it's not a classy establishment." Doc looked over at me.
"Dude, the dress code allows for sweatpants."
Doc continued.
"And hey, our girlfriends work there, and they're hot."
"Only on the outside, Doc. Those bitches have twisted souls."
"Hey now, Reagan's not that bad."
"Doc, you couldn't even say that with a straight face because you knew that you were fucking lying." We laughed for a bit before Doc brought up,
"We should go see them tonight."
"Yeah, well, why the hell wouldn't we?" Reagan and Kennedy were part of the presidential entourage at the local strip joint. Kennedy, Nixon, Reagan, and Bush's ensemble had a patriotic show they put on Sunday nights. You know, for the troops. The Purple Church was the trashiest strip club I'd ever seen, at least in the States. When the girls were done dancing, they'd walk around the room and come up to your table and ask you if you watched them dance and stand there until you gave them money to leave. I'm not saying that the girls there weren't attractive, but I'd see more class in a Thailand whorehouse. I looked over at Doc. "You know what time they go on?"
"No, man. Ask them."
I sent Kennedy a text and put the phone back in my patch jacket. We cruised down Highway 101 through Oceanside. The town was a palace built out of 1950s nightlife and surf riding that the citizens neglected to care for over the last 60 years. The movie theater had a stickier floor than a Hong Kong porno shop, and the bars were dusty and run down. The civilians were either burnouts or punks sporting their swag, and everywhere you went, there were roaming packs of Marines still in infantry school with their overly motivated backpacks and high-end tights. The restaurants were all right, though. Doc pulled the Mustang into the 101 Cafe's parking lot. The white building had a bright red roof and big bay windows. The tabletops and counters were all stainless steel, all with red trim. It was a true old-fashioned burger and shake place. Oceanside's history hung in black and white photos on the walls. Some were of the restaurant, from as far back as the 30s. We sat at the booth by the window. "Hey, Trouble." The waitress put down a coffee for me. "Hey, what's going on, Rochelle?" I asked. "Oh, living the life," she said as she pulled out her notepad. "You know what you want yet? Maybe start you off with a drink?" She asked Doc.
Wait, why'd you bring him a coffee and not me?
Doc asked. "Because he comes in here 5 times a week and always orders the same thing." I grinned at Doc like an asshole. He gave me an unamused glance. "What?" I shrugged.
Nothing.
Doc put down the menu and looked up at Rochelle.
So you have to put up with his shit as much as I do.
"Yeah, but he tips well."
Just the tip?
Haha, very funny. You gonna order anything? Doc scanned the menu.
Yeah, give me a Denver omelet.
Coffee?
Please.
Rochelle disappeared behind the counter. I stirred cream into my coffee, blurring out the first random thought that came into my head. I want an M16 that shoots burning cigarettes at people.
How would that work?
I don't know, some mechanism that lets me jam a pack of Luckies into the well instead of a magazine and a lighter in the receiver.
And that would work how?
I don't know, fucking science, dude. Rochelle placed Doc's coffee on the table. "You two need anything else?" "No, thank you." I smiled.
Speaking of that, I think I should quit smoking.
"Really, Doc?" I threw my spoon on the table. "That's a fucking terrible idea."
How is quitting smoking a terrible idea?
"That's how you end up homeless."
Hank, what the fuck are you talking about?
"Think about it, man." I pointed at Doc. "First you quit smoking, but you don't just quit smoking. You wean yourself down. You don't buy any smokes, you just bum them off of people, so you have this illusion of quitting because you're not buying any. Then you do the same thing with beer. Then your rent. Then you're sleeping on someone's couch, smoking reburns and licking drops of High Life out of bottles in an alleyway. Next thing you know, you're under a bridge giving out blowjobs to hobos for sandwiches so you don't starve to death, all because you wanted to quit smoking." Doc shook his head.
That better be a damn good sandwich.
"Suck the right dick and you can get a double bacon with cheese."
Maybe that wouldn't be too bad then.
Rochelle walked up with our food. "Call me if you need anything else." I opened a packet of jelly and smeared it on my toast.
I think she wants your dick.
"Doc," I leaned in closer to him, "they all want my dick."
All of them.
"Oh yeah, they just don't know it yet."
Yeah, that's definitely not something a serial rapist would say.
"Just because I banged a chick that looked like the leprechaun from the Lucky Charms box does not mean I'm a serial rapist."
What?
"It's not rape if she's on top."
Why do I take you into public?
"Because you need mobile entertainment." I poured the grits over my eggs. "Did I ever tell you about the time I dressed up like a pirate and Dick dressed up like a ninja and we got foam swords and had a duel out in front of the barracks?"
No, how'd that go?
"We ended up accidentally pushing the A-duty down the stairs and got free barbecue from some dudes on third deck."
Cool story, bro. Now shut up.
Doc started to chew his food.
Do you think leprechaun shit is rainbow colored?
I replied, "No, but it tastes like Skittles."
How do you know that?
"Well, you see."
Wait, I don't want to know.
You remember that redhead though, right?
Midget with the short hair?
She wasn't a midget.
She was like 4'10".
Anyway, she takes me to her parents' place while I was on leave one time, and her mom needed her for something, so she stepped out of the room, leaving me with her dad. And this guy has the audacity to ask me this stupid-ass question. Keep in mind, his daughter's like 25 at the time. He says, "So have you been playing hide the salami with my daughter?" Now, I don't have much tolerance for dumb people, and I give stupid answers to stupid questions. I leaned in, and I said, "No, sir, it's more like a Vienna sausage. It's only 2 inches long, but I have 8 of them."
Yeah, that's funny. Hey, I thought of something.
Thinking is dangerous, Doc.
Well, you know how both of us are half Indian?
Yeah?
That means between us, we're a whole Native American.
Yeah, but that also means between us, we're a whole white guy.
Yeah, never mind.
It's whatever, but it proves we're racist. I mean, if you're black and proud, you're a proud black man, and if you're Mexican and proud, you're a proud Mexican, and if you're proud and white, you're in the fucking Klan.
That is kind of fucked up.
We stacked our dishes and napkins on the table. I tossed Doc at 20 and told him I was gonna go smoke. I walked outside, flipped open my lighter, and lit it at the end of my cigarette. I love that first cigarette after breakfast. It was always the best one of the day, especially in the cool California mornings. It's the small things that make life livable. Doc came out, lit a smoke, and leaned on the car.
What you want to do now?
I got a text from Kennedy saying she was going on stage at 8, then some bitching about me leaving before she woke up. Yeah, whatever.
Then we have the whole day to kill.
Yep.
Want to just drive for a bit?
We loaded into the Mustang and hit the 101 going south. That was the best road to just cruise. Heading south after Encinitas, the highway lies just off the beach. You can watch the surfers ride the waves and look at the women bouncing around in their sexy little California bikinis on the road. Through the other small towns and bars and buildings are decorated with a mild extravagance that says, "Yes, this is SoCal." Hope you came to party. We drove down to where the 101 started to narrow out towards San Diego and turned around. You know, it'd be a great movie.
If they remade Lord of the Rings, but a Predator stalked the Fellowship?
Dude, that would be a good movie, but that wasn't what I was thinking. Okay, so check this out. I turned to my seat to face Doc. There's a Marine in Afghanistan, and he's always in these like really bloody firefights, and everyone around him gets hurt, but he always gets away unscratched, and I I snapped my fingers in an effort to remember. Do you remember those dogs back in Afghanistan?
The fucking lichens?
Yeah, those. Anyway, at the end of the deployment, he gets mauled by one of these things.
Would you get a Purple Heart for that?
I wouldn't think so unless the dog had on a suicide vest. But anyway, the Marines battalion goes home and they have the ball right before post-deployment leave. Then it turns out the night of the ball is the first full moon, so they've gotten home and the guy turns into a werewolf and attacks the first sergeant and gets busted down to private.
Man, no one would go see that.
Well, I would.
Yeah, but you're a deranged fuck.
And you're not.
I'm not saying I'm not, but no one would see that movie. Unless Keanu Reeves was in it.
Dude, Keanu Reeves can suck my dick.
No, man. Keanu Reeves is immortal.
That doesn't mean he can't eat a dick. Doc glared at me. And he'd like it, too. Doc looked back at the road.
Negative, devil dog.
Hey, don't you fucking devil dog me, squid.
Keanu is phenomenal, spiritual, visceral, unstoppable. He's an amazing, immortal demigod of acting. Keanu can surf, man.
Whatever, Doc. Brad Pitt would own him. Hands down. Pitt would scalp that motherfucker.
No. Pitt has never jumped sideways whilst firing a pistol at bad guys.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith, how about that, jackass?
Regardless, no. Reeves wins.
No, Brad Pitt would take him into the basement and burn Reeves' skin off with bath soap and then carve a swastika into his face and tell Keanu, there is no Brad Pitt, then disappear into nothing.
They're not the same person, fucker.
No, Brad Pitt is the real-life Highlander.
Whatever, man.
I put the cherry in my cigarette and the skin on my forearm, all the while staring Doc down as the smell of burning flesh filled the cab. Doc pulled out the cigarette lighter under the radio and put it to his wrist. He took turns between staring at me and looking at the road. We burnt daggers into each other's eyes until Doc swore and threw the lighter out the window.
Fine, fucker, you win. Ugh.
We drove the wild streets of San Diego County until the sun fell from the red sky into the Pacific. Doc killed the engine in the Purple Church's parking lot. We walked in and sat in the dark, violet electric sex lights of the strip joint. Doc and I ordered stouts. The girls were on the stage, shaking their asses in front of the mirrors, charming the dirty old men of the crowd. Hey, Doc, have you had that black lager?
Nah, man. I want it so bad, but I can't find it anywhere.
That's good.
I've heard. Oh, but a few weekends ago, I was at the liquor store and I saw this big old black guy, and he was dressed head to toe in this full Carhartt getup. Boots, coveralls, sweatshirt, gloves, and beanie. I was like, WTF. He walked over to the beer cooler and grabbed a six-pack of the stout draft. Then, when he talked, he had this huge cartoon smile and a thick Jamaican accent.
Doc, what the fuck racist bullshit are you going on about?
I wonder if he was just fucking around.
So black people can't drink stout?
That's not what I'm saying.
You're fucking racist.
Fuck off.
Well, you know what the funny thing is, Doc? I calmly drank my beer, staring at Kennedy's breast on the stage.
What's that?
Doc asked, not taking his eyes away from the stage either. All these presidents are dirty old white guys. None of these chicks are even a quarter fucking white.
Yeah. They don't even look like the people that whatever president they're pretending to be messed with.
Right? I mean, I can understand if there was a fat white chick named Clinton or if Kennedy looked like Marilyn Manson.
Or if Bush was Arabic or even had a giant unkept hairy snatch.
Well, you know, who's to say she doesn't? They don't let them take off their panties.
Reagan told me that most of the girls keep it pretty clean down there.
That's another one! Reagan, what does a short Filipino stripper have to do with Star Wars, the fall of the Soviet Union, or fucking Reaganomics?
What does a big-tittied Persian have to do with the Bay of Pigs getting shot in the fucking back of the head or assassination conspiracies?
Well, I call her pig when I choke fuck her.
So what is Nixon?
I don't know. I squinted my eye to get a better look at her. Maybe she's...
unfuckable?
Not without a hell of a lot more beer, anyway. I finished my drink. Did George Bush ever do anything with Mongolians? I think that's what Bush is.
I don't think so, man.
Doc and I had a few more beers throughout the show. The girls rubbed on each other and shimmered about the stage. When the routine was over, the girls sauntered around the club asking the other patrons if they liked their dances and solicited tips. Their gratuity patrol came to a completion, and Bush and Nixon went back behind the doors. Kennedy and Reagan came and sat at our table. You enjoy the show? Kennedy asked. Not really. I took a drink. You're such an asshole, Kennedy pushed me. Well, I mean, you got stiff competition, right? I looked over to Doc for testimony.
Yeah. Like in Hong Kong.
What happens in Hong Kong? Reagan inquired.
Well, they have banana shows there.
What's that? Kennedy asked. I motioned peeling a banana and spreading my legs. Gross! Kennedy shouted. I don't want details. Oh! I exclaimed. Doc, you remember the bird show? The bird show? Both girls said in unison. Yeah, Doc made a bird with his hands. The girls had an abhorrent look on their faces.
Then she shoots the bird out and it flies around the room. Oh, then there's another girl with pool balls. She put 5 balls in her pussy. Each one has a number on it. And then she would ask you what number you wanted, and she'd pop it out.
That shit was awesome, I confirmed Doc's story. There is no way I would ever do that, Kennedy said. Reagan asked, well, how much money do they make? Reagan! Kennedy slapped Reagan on the leg. There is no amount of money, says the stripper, is what I wanted to say. But I also wanted to have sex that night, so I kept my mouth closed. Speaking of pay for sex, shouldn't people be shoving cash into your knickers instead of having you go around asking for it? I smiled at Kennedy. Well, she grabbed my beer and took a swig. If California wasn't run by a bunch of left-wing socialist faggots, maybe I wouldn't have that problem. Kennedy was born a few years after her parents immigrated from Iran. She was a tall, dark, beautiful lynx. Long, dark hair with black holes that not even gravity could escape her eyes. Her skin was the perfect shade of caramel. Well, I've got something I'd like to stash in your undergarments. Kennedy smiled and shook her head. So what are you two troublemakers getting yourselves into tonight? I don't know. I was thinking about robbing a bank and using that money to buy cocaine, then snorting the blow off a stripper's ass. Maybe kill a few hookers. Well, that sounds like a solid plan. Reagan sneered. Doc put his hand on Reagan's thigh and said,
Well, you're both invited if you want to join.
Or how about El Taco instead? Kennedy suggested. If we can do a cigarette first, I'll use my teeth to pull a Lucky out of the pack. The girl stood up. We'll meet you out front, Kennedy said. Let's go get dressed, Ray.
Aw, you're not going out dressed like that?
Sorry, hun. Reagan rubbed Doc's balding head. Girls walked into the back, and Doc and I went out front and lit up.
It's just as well they won't go out dressed like that.
What?
Well, I mean, do you really want them walking around like that, having other assholes ogle them?
Dude, they're fucking strippers.
Yeah, but...
But what? Their job is to be ogled by creepy, dirty old men who can't get laid and have the money to shove in their thongs.
It's not just guys who can't get laid. What about people who just want to look at some titties?
Doc, you're an idiot. Who wants to watch tits shake around when they could get their dicks wet? If prostitution were legal, no one would go to strip clubs. Just be happy your little Filipino girl isn't an actual Filipino stripper.
Right. Because of the whole banana thing. And $5 blowjobs.
That and she's not a 12-year-old boy in a dress.
Oh God, that'd be terrible.
Oh, shut up, Doc. You're so head over heels about that bitch, you'd suck her dick if she had one.
Fuck you, man.
Doc punched me in the chest. I jumped on Doc and wrestled one of his arms away from him. Tell me you love Brad Pitt!
Fuck you! Brad Pitt sucks!
Doc screamed, trying to get away. I shoved the hot end of my cigarette into his skin. Say it!
Never!
I ground the cigarette in harder.
Alright! I love Brad Pitt.
I got off Doc and helped him stand back up.
You're a dick.
Yeah, but I'm the best friend you're ever gonna have.
It's nice you're so fucking modest.
Doc rubbed his burns. We patted ourselves off and lit more cigarettes. The girls came out and we all loaded into Doc's Mustang and blazed down to El Taco. We walked into the dingy, greasy hole of an eatery that was El Taco. The floors looked like at one time they were white, but now were dark yellowish brown and the windows were in serious need of cleaning. The place was empty except for a crazy homeless-looking woman sitting in the corner, folding paper bags and talking to herself. We ordered our food and sat down. Reagan took a bite of her burrito and a hunk of beef-greased bean paste fell onto her shirt. Doc tried to say something but couldn't manage more than a mumble because of the food he had stuffed in his mouth. Reagan grabbed the napkin and started wiping the goo off her blouse. Dude, English, Reagan told him.
Right here, sorry.
Kennedy bowed down towards Doc. Enunciate. Doc swallowed his food.
Fuck you both. I was trying to say that reminds me of a story.
Trying is the key word there. Reagan said, still working on her top. Her efforts were spreading the stain more than they were cleaning it up.
When I was 16, I was dating this chick named Allison.
Oh yeah, great story, Doc. Doc glared at me.
She was 18 and I met her at a party. After we had been dating for a bit, she said she wanted to use anal beads.
Reagan gave him a dirty look. On you?
No. Hell no. She wanted me to use them on her.
Yeah, okay, sure. Go on with your sorry ass story.
Anyway, she goes to a sex shop and buys these anal beads. She brings them to her house and we take them to her room. She takes off her clothes and sits up on the bed with her legs spread. I start popping them in one by one.
Doc made a gesture with his hands to illustrate.
Then, when they were all in there, being the sexual boot that I was,
Doc jerked his fist downward.
I pulled them all out like I was trying to start a lawnmower, and shit flew all over the place.
Reagan dropped her burrito on the table. Yeah, I'm done.
All right, hey, thanks for listening to Chapter 1. I'd like to thank Chuck Levacki for playing Doc. And hey, if you don't want to wait for me to read all these to you, this book's on Audible. Or you could just, buy the book. Or you can get the War Chest, that's on my site, and that's, the first 6 books inside of a custom painted ammo can. Yeah. And that's got, stickers and cards and a patch and all that fun stuff in it. Patch? Yeah, like that. I'd also like to thank all my Patreon people, they're here, and everyone who's gotten the War Chest. But I'm going to be releasing the chapters for the first book in pretty quick succession. And then hopefully, if the schedule goes how I want it to go, or as loosely planned, I should be starting to release the chapters for the second book in October. And then I'll be doing that the way I did this one the first time around with, all this before the channel got nuked. And that'll be, the chapters will come out on a schedule once a week. And then I'll put them up on Patreon as I get done with them. So, if you want to help out the channel, that's how you can do that. All right, anyway, I'll catch you around. Ciao.